So let's talk about credit today. Let's take the mystery out of understanding your credit score. So your credit score is very important part of when you are applying for a mortgage, okay? But most people don't understand where it comes from or how the number gets to be where it is. So, we're here to kind of talk about that this morning and make you a little bit more aware of where your score comes from and how we can help maintain it and keep it at a great level. Okay. So, 35% of where your credit score comes from is your payment history. So that means you're paying your bills on time, you're paying more than the minimum, and you are not ever late. One late payment can really affect your score for a few months. So you always want to make sure that you are paying everything on time, at least the minimum, but more than the minimum is really important as well. Okay. 30% is how much you owe on your accounts. If you have your cards all maxed out, the it negatively can affect your credit score. So even though you're paying them on time and you're up to date on everything, you're paying more than the minimum, it still can affect your score. So because it's showing that all of your cards are maybe at the very limit or maxed out even every month, even though you're paying the minimum, it's not making any impact on the card itself. Okay. Length of credit history. So that's going to be 15% of your score. So is it new credit? Is it credit you've had for 10 years? Obviously, having a little mix of both is fine, but having newer credit all the time can really affect your score as well. And in fact, that's about 10%. So if you are just trying to establish your credit, maybe you're young and you want to make sure that you're getting stuff out there, your credit score is going to have a little bit of a negative impact until what we call your accounts have been seasoned a little bit, which means that you've had them for 6 months to a year. So with that, recommending maybe first starting with a car loan and then maybe adding a credit card and slowly building it that way. That way you don't have everything open new at all the same time. All right. And the last part, the last 10% is going to be your types of credit. Do you have student loans? Do you have all credit cards? Do you have a car payment in there? Do you have a mortgage? Having some sort of balance in there is great. If you're only showing all credit cards and they're all maxed out, that's definitely not a good sign and can negatively impact your score as well. All right. So now that we've talked about what goes into your score, let's talk about how we can improve it. One of the most important things, pay your bills on time. Do not miss that pay date. If by chance you are, someone who maybe, oh, I forgot to pay it, or, I'm 2 days late, it'll be fine. Even that 2 days late can really affect you. So if you know you're one of those people, maybe set up on an automatic payment plan. That way, the payment the day that it's due comes directly out of your bank account, and then you never have to worry about the being late on it. So that's always a great thing as well. Don't max out your cards. We just talked about this a few minutes ago. Keeping a what we call a healthy balance on your card. So if, let's say, your credit card max is $5,000. Ideally, 8% of that is where you would like to keep your balance at. You don't really want to go above that. And surely you don't want to be maxed out every month because, again, when you're making the payment, you're really only paying interest and you're not actually paying that card down. So that can negatively affect your score as well. Continue to build your credit. Insufficient credit history can negatively impact your score as well. So even if you don't have bad credit, it still can hurt you if you only have one item that's a credit because it's not showing enough buildup of it. So have maybe two or three if you're starting out, keep them lower balances. And, a great way to keep it healthy, your account healthy, maybe a bill that you pay every month. Maybe it's Netflix, maybe it's your car insurance. Have it set up on an automatic payment plan. That way, the day that it's due, it automatically comes out of your account and pays that bill. And that's going to show great continual good history on your account that you're having this balance every month. but you're then paying it off every month as well, with a bill that's you have every month anyway. So, get it set up, and that way you don't have to think about it, and it's also working good on your credit and building that score for you. Keep your inquiries to a minimum. Don't be one of those people that pulls your credit once every week or once a month. You know, if you are in a situation where your score is lower and you are working on it, and maybe you're working with a credit repair person or you're trying to do it on your own, don't keep pulling your score. Let it be. Maybe pull it every, 6 months once. When you pull it multiple times, it every time you pull it, it can have an effect on your score. It does all depend what you're pulling it for, whether you're applying for new credit, a credit card, or a car, or if you're shopping for a mortgage. A mortgage does, it is always a hard pull, but it doesn't affect as, say, pulling for a credit card or a store card or a car, something like that. When you pull for a mortgage, it is a little bit different and it doesn't impact as much. But if you are continually looking at your score, that can actually negatively impact your score as well. Again, keeping your credit card accounts to a minimum. Avoid finance companies. So avoid a credit company that's, you're buying something and you're paying financing on it. So obviously a car is a big deal. Everyone needs one to get somewhere. And that is a finance company. So having one is great, but don't get credit cards that are a payment plan kind of thing, or, rental furniture, stuff like that. Those ones can really affect you tremendously. They can negatively affect your score. And over time, if you miss the payment on that, it's going to hurt a lot more on your score. So every year you are allotted one free credit report. Get your annual credit report. Check it out, look at it, make sure there's no errors on there or something that you are not familiar with what it is. A lot of people don't know you've been maybe hacked. Someone stole your identification and maybe they're racking up stuff and you don't even know it because it's a card that you don't really use. So it's really important to take that once a year, look it over, see what your score is, see how you're making your payments, as long as everything's good. And if you're not happy with your score, let's see how we can work on it. How can I make it better? What can I do? And that's something you can reach out to someone, a financial advisor or someone in the credit repair service, that they can help guide you along that way. Of course, you can do it yourself if it's very minimal, again, paying your things on time, keeping your limits at a minimum. Those are all very helpful things. If you do find errors on your credit report, reach out to that company, call them, call the credit bureau and say, there's something weird about this. I'm not sure why this balance is so high, or, is there a way I can improve my score? And they can let you know, oh, there was 2 missed payments, you were a few days late. That's impacted your score. It may take, 3 more months for it to kind of wash away. If you have collections on your credit report, that is definitely a big impact for you. Reach out to the creditor, call them. Can you set up a payment plan? That is better than not paying it at all. And maybe you didn't know there's a collection on you. Sometimes there's things on there that people are like, I have no idea what that even is. On your credit report, it will have the creditor, your account number, and usually a phone number that you can call them and see what that is and figure it out. Do know some collections, once you do pay them, still do not fall off your account. So they can still negatively impact your score for a little bit of time. So it's always important to ask that creditor, are you going to be able to take it off my report as well? Because that makes a big difference too. If you're ever having trouble making your payments, if you are in a tight money situation, maybe someone lost their job or work is slow right now, reach out to the companies that you're paying. Let them know your situation. Let them know you're having a little bit of a hardship. Can we set up a payment plan? To them, having any sort of payment is better than none at all. And that way it will show, they're more than happy to work that out with you, generally speaking, because they don't want you to go into default and negatively impact you as well. And they still want to get their money. So even if you're sending them a little bit until your situation improves, that's definitely the way to go. So make sure you reach out to your creditors, keep them in the loop, and see what you guys can come up with to make sure that you're still making a payment plan to keep that score from being negatively impacted. So I hope you've learned a little bit about your credit score, where it comes from, and how to keep it that way and how to improve it. I know it's a lot to take in, but it's a super important thing. If you can do one thing for your life, is make sure you maintain a good credit score. It really affects a lot more than people think it does. So yeah, so keep it up, keep up the good work, pay your bills, and if you ever have issues with paying, reach out to the companies, set up a payment plan, or figure it out. And definitely make sure you pull that credit report once a year. You get it one annual, or sometimes your bank or credit card will give them to you as well. Look it over, look at it in depth, make sure that there's no errors, because again, a lot of people don't know that things are on their report when we pull them for a mortgage as well, and it's the first time that they're hearing it as well. So most of the time it can be cleared up pretty easily, but what you don't know, you don't know. So get your report, keep your score up, and make sure you keep paying those bills on time.